and he's got a tough customer to deal with tonight. Barry Tompkins, Wally Matthews alongside, and Wally, let's talk a little bit, first of all, about James Toney. I mean, this is a guy who has seen it all. There's nothing in that ring that's going to be new to him.
Seen it all, done it all. He's, he's gone from 157 pounds in his first fight to what he is tonight, which is, close to 250 pounds. He's, he's got a funny-looking body, but there's nothing funny about the way James Toney fights. I mean, this guy is a slickster. He knows how to, to fight in there. He knows how to box in an old-school manner. He knows how to slip punches. He knows how to frustrate opponents. And he's going to force Qquendo to do something that Qquendo hates to do, which is force the action, because Toney is a counterpuncher, as you can see right there. I mean, he'll make you miss. He'll pick shots off. He'll make you pay. And you know what? As he's moved up in weight, he's become a better puncher. He's a good, solid puncher as a heavyweight. Stopped Evander Holyfield, which we know is not easy to do.
Yeah, he's just a tough guy. You wind up hitting him on the shoulders, you hit him on the back, and as you said, he's gotten much more compact with his punches, and he's got a little bit of pop as well. Now, Qquendo, at his very best, I think could give him a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, but, you have to ask yourself, when was Qquendo at his very best? And, you look through his record, his best wins come against guys like Obed Sullivan, but when he gets in against the David Tuas of the world, the Evander Holyfields of the world, John Ruizes of the world, he doesn't quite get it done. Lost to Chris Bird. I mean, he's a guy who has not really been quite able to get over that step, as you pointed out. He's not a particularly aggressive fighter, but he knows that tonight, this is it. He's got to be aggressive, got to force the fight, got to rough up James Toney. I mean, he's 8 years younger, and he's really got to make it happen for him tonight.
Let's take a look at the numbers in this fight and see how these two do match up. And neither one of them is exactly a kid. Qquendo at 35 years of age. James Toney has hit the 40 mark. Toney only 5'9", and he outweighs Qquendo by 11 pounds. Qquendo's a pretty good athlete. Was a high school football quarterback. He's got a reach advantage, but the real bottom line to all of this, as you said, is he is going to have to force the fight, and that is unusual for him. The rules, once again, no 3 knockdown rule, no standing 8 count. A doctor or the referee can stop the fight, and the fighter can't be saved by the bell in any round. So that's the way our main event looks, and it's a couple of guys who have been there. No secrets with these two, Qquendo and James Toney, two guys who have been all-around championship belts, and they hope that this next step will take them to yet another opportunity. Qquendo, pretty loosey-goosey when we saw him this afternoon.
Yeah, he says they've worked together in the gym, although Toney couldn't really remember it, but he said he sparred, with Toney. Not real impressed with him as a heavyweight, thinks that he can beat him tonight, and as I said, he knows this is it. If he's going to make any kind of noise in the heavyweight division, this is his last shot.
And the other question you always have to ask, and we've seen this a million times, and that is, heavyweights can get old in one day, and that's always the question that hangs over James Toney's head.
Oh, yeah, and the other thing that, in fact, the Qquendo camp brought up today is Toney's behavior before fights has always been a little bit erratic. And yesterday, apparently, at the weigh-in, he put on a bit of a display, attempted to attack a couple of the guys in Qquendo's corner, but as they pointed out, did not try to attack Qquendo. He's going to save that for tonight.
Yeah, and he's the master of gamesmanship also. We've seen that so many times, and that goes back to the time, as you said, when he was 156, 157 pounds. Nothing new for James Toney.
No, he's one of these guys who needs, I think, to motivate himself that way, to work up a dislike for his opponent, but you and I know him in a different way. I've known him 20 years. He's a real good guy, a fun guy to be around, but you wouldn't want to fight him because you know he's going to get in your face.
He really is, and once again, we touched upon this at the beginning of this program, but when you watch a fight like the one we saw today between Klitschko and Rockman, you have to say, why not?
Absolutely right. I mean, let's face it, Rockman and Toney fought twice. They fought to a draw the first time, no contest the second time after a headbutt, but here's a guy who's beaten Evander Holyfield, beat John Ruiz, the decision overturned after Toney tested positive for a steroid, but he's a guy who certainly can hold his own in this division. And you know something? There's no point in lamenting the state of the heavyweight division. At this point, we got to go with what we got, and right now, James Toney is what we got.
No, that's exactly right. And, you got to give him as good a chance as anybody else in this division. Certainly guys that we're seeing on pay-per-view shows and what would be considered major networks. What we've got here is every bit as good as what that is. Well, you can score the fight online, www.versus.com/scorecard. See what you think as this fight goes along. And another thing, too, I think this is going to be a very difficult fight to score.
Oh, Toney guarantees that. His style absolutely guarantees it. Qquendo does his part to make sure of that as well.
All right, what's left then is to get on with it, and we will do that as we go up once more. The center of the ring and Jimmy Lennon Jr. Jimmy.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to you and welcome to the featured bout of the evening, brought to you by Goose & Tudor Promotions, the Morango Casino Resort and Spa in association with Don King Productions, sponsored by the Riverside Press Enterprise and La Prensa. It is sanctioned by the NABO Supervisor Mark Reels, the IBA Supervisor Jorge Marron, and the California State Athletic Commission. The chairman is Tim Noonan. Judging at ringside for our main event, Tony Krebs, Marty Denkin, and David Mendoza. With our third man to the ring, our referee in charge, Dr. Lou Moretz. All right, fans, here we go. 12 rounds of boxing for the vacant NABO and IBA Heavyweight Championship. And now, ladies and gentlemen in attendance and boxing fans joining us around the world, live from the Morango Casino Resort and Spa, it's time for the main event of the evening. Introducing to you first on my right, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing light blue trunks, fighting out of Chicago, Illinois, by way of San Juan, Puerto Rico. He weighed in at 219 pounds. His record 29 wins, 4 losses, with 18 wins coming by way of knockout. Please welcome the former world title challenger and WBO Latino heavyweight champion, known as the Big O, introducing fast, Qquendo. And his opponent across the ring on my left, fighting out of the red corner, wearing green trunks, fighting out of Calabasas, California, by way of Detroit, Michigan. He weighed in at 230 pounds. His record 70 wins, 6 losses and 3 draws with 1 no decision, and 43 wins coming by way of knockout. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome one of boxing's all-time pound-for-pound greats. Here is the 3-time world champion, James "Lights Out" Toney. Once again, the referee in charge, Dr. Lou Moretz. 12 rounds of boxing scheduled.
You know the rules, follow them. Good luck. Wait for the bell.
Well, the simple instructions from Lou Moretz. You know the rules, follow them.
I love it.
Succinct, to the point. And with that, we are set to go. James Toney probably defines the term crafty. And it will be up to Qquendo to force the action in this fight. And we forgot the mouthpiece from Qquendo. So
Qquendo looks almost embarrassed.
Okay.
Start out by butting heads. That's a nice start.
You know, James Toney, you know, whatever you think of him, and, you know, I'm not convinced he's a heavyweight, although he has been one for a few years now. This guy is a throwback to another era. I mean, how many guys at this level are you going to ever see again fight more than 80 times in a career?
No, absolutely. He defines the term warrior.
Right. He's starting to look also like a fighter from another era. He looks like
he is.
Like a picture of Sam Langford or something.
Qquendo has a good jab. And again, he's not a guy with one-punch knockout power, certainly not against a guy like Toney. He's going to have to outwork it.
Tony's got a terrific beard. That's one thing. I mean, he took great punches in every step of the way. The only guy I ever really saw rock him, and I think Qquendo just got rocked.
Yes, he did, by a chopping right hand.
I was going to say, I think Roy Jones rocked him back in 1995.
Toney traditionally with his left hand down at his belt. There's that right hand again. That one just missed.
You know, just early impressions here, Barry. Toney looks a little bit wide with his punches tonight. A little wider than I expected to see him. A little wider than he's been in the past. You know, you don't want to make a judgment this early, but, you know, once the reflexes start going, that's what you see with older fighters. Pretty good right hand by Qquendo.
Yeah, it was, and it knocked Toney back, even though I thought it was a little bit short, but still a good shot.
Could have been a balance issue, but we'll take a look.
Let him go.
So each man has loaded up a little bit here in this first round.
I think Qquendo's jab could really be the key to this fight if he uses it.
It's important for Qquendo to keep Toney in the middle of the ring, too, which he's been able to do.
Although Toney also does a lot of his best work when he's against the ropes.
That's true. Toney also with a deceptively quick jab.
It's pretty good work by Qquendo in this round. I mean, not a great round, but I think he won it.
Yeah, I think he did too. And he got out of the way of that right hand. Not a bad first round.
No, that's pretty much the round that Qquendo needs to fight.
We got a little bucket for the floor here or no? It's all right. Yeah.
Joe Goosen, old familiar face in the corner of James Toney.
Can you bring that to the tube so we can spin it? Let's see. You already knew he was going to do that, right? Hopefully. Okay. So don't fight, you know, when he does that. Right. Serbian. Whenever you catch his jab, try to put something out there with it. Put a jab out there, even a couple jabs. You know what I'm saying? So catch and go a little bit more.
Trust in
that right hand, you know, he's
Toney's
dipping real deep. So you either
in your nose, you're in shape. Relax.
Water. Go. Keep this up, brother. Dino, that's your job, Dino. Don't let this go.
All right, we're going to take a look at James Toney's best moment in the first round. You see that he wobbles Qquendo a little bit with a punch behind the ear, but later in the round, Qquendo landed a right hand that seemed to shake Toney a little bit. Oh, that head's just banged.
Just the way they started the first fight, only with more first round, only with more intensity that time.
And let's not forget, you know, Toney's last fight with Rockman ended because of a butt.
A very ugly fight, I might add.
Yes. Qquendo really not stepping in with that jab at all, just kind of touching Toney with it, and I don't think he's going to get away with that for very long.
Toney working his jab.
Break.
See, it's the lack of aggression by Qquendo that's always done him in, Barry.
Yeah, and he loses close fights.
Yeah, exactly, because you know what? If the fight is a coin toss, you're going to go with the guy who's more aggressive, and I can't remember a time that was Frezzo Qquendo.
Right out of there.
Toney at 5'9", and he fights out of a low stance sometimes. Very difficult guy to hit.
Yeah, he used to have an uncanny ability to roll under punches, to slip punches, to rock back from them. Actually, I'm surprised that he's gotten hit, you know, as flush as he has so far early in this fight, but it may just be that he needs a couple of rounds here to get going. He does tend to get stronger later in the fight.
He does.
Break.
He's just a savvy fighter, you know. He doesn't do anything pretty.
No, and he's one of these guys, you know, 10 years from now, God forbid he's still fighting, will be able to go in there and handle himself. You know what I mean? Keep himself out of trouble. Like right there, he slipped that right hand.
Break.
He knows a lot of tricks.
Well, that's what he was talking to us about today. I'm a boxer. He said, I'm a fighter. That's what I do.
He got hit there, but he's looking down at the canvas. Maybe he slipped on some water.
Double jab and a wild right hand from Qquendo.
You know, so far, Qquendo, even though he's not all that aggressive, is forcing the fight a little bit more than he generally does. And to me, Toney's having a little trouble getting started here.
But as you said, he's a guy who generally will get on the gas a little bit more in the middle to late rounds.
You see him trying to lure Qquendo into his little traps.
again, that jab, and you made mention of this, the jab of Qquendo is more of a slapping jab than it is any kind of jab that's going to keep his man off of him. They come to the center of the ring. Toney meets him with a left hand.
He seems a lot more aggressive in this round. You know, the CompuBox numbers seem to indicate that Toney had a better second round, although I gave it to Qquendo. 31 punches landed for Toney, only 24 for Qquendo. Still not much of a pace to this fight.
Remember, this fight's scheduled for 12 rounds, so a long way to go here.
And obviously both of them have been that distance. And one thing about Toney, he has got to be the most relaxed fighter I've ever seen in a boxing ring. I know he's far from panic-stricken yet. He knows there's a long way to go here.
Again, he took a counter right hand that time after a right hand miss.
That's a patented James Toney move, though. You see the way he kind of turned? He actually looked away from his man and then came back with a right hand. Very tricky guy. And he actually landed a very good jab there.
Yeah, his jab is pretty sharp tonight. It's a right hand by Qquendo that pushed Toney off of him. Interesting, Toney in this round has taken the fight to Qquendo.
Yeah, that's generally not his way, but, you know, I don't think he's too thrilled with the way the first 2 rounds went. Trying to change things up a little bit. Decent right hand.
Yeah, but I don't think quite as decent as Toney is making it look. He's smiling at him.
Think the acting career has begun already?
Yes, that's not going to get him any parts.
Actually, let's not forget, he played Joe Frazier in the Mike Tyson movie.
That's right.
So he's an experienced actor. That was a few pounds ago.
Good right hand again, counter right hand, and another right hand.
And he's closing the gap now.
Yeah.
He's closing the gap between himself and Qquendo. It's helping Toney land some punches here.
Gives you a ton of different angles.
And he rode away from that right hand. That also is a patented Toney move where he kind of turns away from the right hand.
Yeah.
He used to come back with his own. We'll see if he's still capable of that.
Most of those missed.
Yeah, but you know what? Qquendo is busy, though, and it does get the attention of the judges.
It does. But I think you make a good point. Toney's in better punching range right now than Qquendo. Round number 4 now. Qquendo in the light blue trunks and James Toney in the green. I want Toney to work the body a little bit more in this round. It's interesting when you look at Toney's face, completely impassive in the corner. You never know if he's hearing what's being said or not.
Or if he's paying any attention.
That's right.
Completely disregarding it. I mean, look, let's face it. With as much respect as I have for Joe Goosen, I don't think anybody in this building knows more about boxing than James Toney.
No, exactly. Just missed with that right hand.
He's trying to keep Qquendo on the move. One thing about Qquendo, he can be out-hustled. He's been out-hustled, you know, a bunch of times. And he also, you know, you can break his will just by keeping coming. He seems to lose focus at times. Doesn't always have, you know, the worst intentions on his punches.
Good sharp jab there from Qquendo. Good right hand.
And that was a slick move by Toney. And here's our friends on in the online poll. Have Toney ahead by a point. I actually have Qquendo ahead by a point, and I think this is a tough fight to score.
I'm with the fans right now. I have Toney ahead a point.
Yeah, I wavered on the second round, and I'll tell you what, this is going to be a very interesting decision if we get to that point.
Which we knew would be.
Toney suckered Qquendo into that right hand about 30 seconds ago. Obviously, he's trying to do it again. You see him firing it. When Qquendo gets done with his combinations, Toney throws his right hand over the top.
That's a Toney goes right out of the ring.
Oh, my gosh.
No knockdown. That's a slip. And still, the facial expression of James Toney has not changed, although he takes a long look at Qquendo. I think that was pretty accidental, even though Frez got a talking to him.
Well, you know, once you get that mass moving in one direction, it doesn't stop.
Right hand from Toney, but he took the right hand from Qquendo.
They exchanged rights. I have to say, I know we're only 4 rounds in. I don't think Toney looks very good tonight. A little sluggish.
A little bit. But he's not laying in as much as I've seen him do. Tried to throw that counter right hand again, came up short.
See, when he starts pushing back, you can stand up, he's going to be able to walk you. As I say, draw him back like you did, he complained about your head, right? When you threw down on him, remember the early thing around? Draw down on him. Don't let him push you back like that, dude. Don't let him stand you up and walk you back. That's what I'm telling you. Now, that was a lot better when we went to the body, okay? So keep him guessing now. It's going to be head or body with your right hand, left hand, okay? We'll get to him eventually because he's holding on, he's holding on like a barnacle right now.
All right, let's take a look at that bizarre moment where James Toney almost went out of the ring here. You see that, you know, Qquendo really didn't do all that much. Tony's legs just went out from under him, and his balance has been kind of shaky all night. We'll take a look at it here. He's kind of walking Toney back. Oh, wow. That was a dangerous moment, not only for Toney, but for the gentleman sitting at the table right there.
Glad it was on that side of the ring. You know, I mean, I've seen the perspiration on the painted portions of the mat cause many a slip, but that didn't seem to be the case there.
Well, in the meantime, we're 1/3 of the way through here, and I will be honest with you, I don't know who's winning this fight.
I think it can go. I have it even right now, but
that's what I have. I have it 2 rounds apiece, and you know, multiplied by 3, we're gonna have somebody's gonna be very upset at the end of this fight.
Yeah. Toney took a look down in Qquendo's corner. I'm not sure what that was about.
I think he was saying your shoelace is untied. Now again, you see that Toney got hit there and he stumbled backwards a little bit, and I just wonder about his I really wonder about his balance tonight, Barry. I wonder about his legs. You know, he is 40 years old. Some things about Toney just do not look right tonight.
Well, you know, we talked about it just before the fight. I mean, how many times have you seen a fighter get old in one fight? I'm not suggesting that that's necessarily happening.
Right, but it's just, you know, there are some strange things that now obviously he's trying to lure Qquendo to follow him into the corner here, because he generally fires back very hard off the ropes. Got beat to the punch there twice.
Pretty good right hand by Qquendo. Was a little short. Again, a right hand by Qquendo. No damage, but gets there.
Yeah, I mean, Qquendo's doing all the scoring in this round. Toney's trying to set his traps, but, you know, the traps are coming up empty so far.
That right hand just missed. And there's Qquendo with a right hand. Good shot. To say it's an action fight.
And you know what? This is a good round for Qquendo.
excellent round. So we come to round number 6. We thought a pretty good round for Perez Qquendo. In round 5, we're joined by heavyweight contender Chris Arreola, and you know, it's always a pleasure. It's one of the joys of our job, Wally, is we get to see guys like Chris start out at one. I did a lot of your very early fights, Chris, and now here you are at the door of a championship. It's great to see you.
Thank you, I appreciate it. It's good being here. I love watching James Toney fight.
He's a pro, isn't he?
Ever since I was a kid, I always loved watching him. He's just a technician in there.
You know, we've been talking about, you know, how relaxed he is in the ring and, you know, how many little tricks and traps he has tonight. But how do you think he's performing so far tonight?
Oh, I think he's doing a great job, you know.
Do you think he's winning?
I think he is. You know, he's setting Qquendo up. But, you know, Qquendo seems like he's picking it up since the last round.
Yeah, we thought Qquendo had a pretty good 5th round, probably his best round of the fight. And we've got this as a very close fight right now.
I'll tell you, it's a good fight. It's very entertaining. And James needs to pick it up because Qquendo seems like he's just stepping on a different level right now.
I agree. I thought he had a good 5th round, and I thought he landed a pretty good right hand early in this round. But let me ask you this. You're considered the young hope of the heavyweight division. How does it make you feel to see a guy like Toney still, you know, near or at the top of the division at 40 years old?
Gives me hope.
I'm sure you don't plan to be around that long.
No. I want to be out of here, you know, 37, 36. But the thing is, you know, James Toney, it's a freak of nature seeing him in there, you know, because this guy's so relaxed. He just rolls everything off his shoulder. And he's a craft. He works with his craft real good.
He knows how to fight. I mean, when he started fighting, you were just a little boy.
Yeah, I was. But I still remember watching him. And I always liked him, like him. Especially when I seen him fight Rory Jones. You know, I wanted him to win.
You can see, you saw those numbers just a moment ago. Toney not real active in the last round. Only landed 8 punches.
Yeah, he hasn't really, Barry, been able to take advantage of Qquendo's lack of aggression as much as I thought he would. He hasn't really slipped the jab quite as well. You know, there was a pretty good right hand he slipped in, but he's taken more than he's given so far, I think.
Well, I think it's fair to say Qquendo's giving him all he wants here.
Oh, he is. He definitely is. But then again, you know, James Toney maybe setting him up, but just, you know, taking a round off, you know, he's known to do that, and he does it right.
Let's not forget, he was training to fight somebody else, Tony Thompson, and this match made about a week and a half ago. Different style completely.
And Qquendo, of course, was in the gym preparing for a fight that was going to take place Thanksgiving week. That fight got canceled. Here he is, and he's doing a pretty darn good job. We're coming back.
Oh, he's doing a great job. He seems like he just...
All right, let's take a look at some of that 6th round action. Pretty good right hand there, and you saw Qquendo's legs wobbled, and Toney mocked him for it. Nice little move.
We're joined here by heavyweight contender Chris Arreola, and watching a guy who he says he grew up watching. And something to be learned from him, too, isn't there?
Oh, of course, especially when you go in the ring and spar with him a couple times, you know, you got to pick something up.
And you've sparred with him a few times, haven't you?
Yeah, about 2-3 times. You know, I went down to Wildcard and I sparred with him, and first thing I remember is like this guy sweats Vaseline, man. He's so slippery, you know. Yeah, it's hard to connect on him, but one thing that you gotta learn from him is that he's so calm in there, and it calms you down, and everything slows down, and that's what makes him change.
Now I know, you know, obviously there's a big age difference between you guys, but can you see a point where you would ever fight him?
You know what? I respect the guy. I respect him a great deal, you know. If it came down to it, yeah, you know, of course I would fight him. But I respect the guy. If I don't have to, I wouldn't.
Nice chopping right there by Qquendo.
We were talking today about the fight that took place earlier today, Rockman and Klitschko, and if you saw that fight, you got to think the door to the heavyweight division is wide open.
You know, it's been open for a while, and the thing is, Klitschko, honestly, he just fights his fight, and he makes fighters fight his fight.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure guys come in there with a different game plan, but you know, he's such a great fighter, and he's like just like James, you know. But he makes him fight his fight, and he does it right.
In the meantime, I really am getting the feeling that James is having trouble fighting his fight so far tonight. Now, obviously, when he backed to the ropes here a few seconds ago, he was trying to lure Qquendo in, but Kendo's not falling for it, it seems like.
No, Qquendo, like, since round 5, he's been turning this fight around, and he's winning this round again.
Just seems a little bit crisper. He's beating James to the punch.
And, you know, James keeps eating them jabs, man.
Look, Chris, we really want to look ahead to your next outing, and want to wish you absolutely continued success. It's been great to see you grow as a heavyweight, and not too far away from making it even better.
You know, I hope, you know, but, you know, of course, you know, there's still more things that I need to work in, and I want to be in that elite level sometime.
All right, Chris, thanks so much for taking the time to be with us. That's Chris Arreola as this round winds down. After a word of warning from Lou Moret, we're coming back. Don't go away.
All right, let's take a look here. Qquendo lands that right hand behind the head of Toney. Gets a warning from referee Lou Moret for it, but you know what? That's the only illegal punch he landed in that round. He had 19 connects in the 7th round, his best round of the fight.
Yeah, and the middle rounds are usually the rounds that start to be owned by James Toney, and at least on our cards here ringside, it's Qquendo. There's a good right hand from Toney.
Yeah, but you know what? I get the feeling that Toney is relying only on that right hand, and he has not been able to land it consistently enough. A couple of times he's wobbled Qquendo with it, but he has not been able to follow up with anything. Getting beat to the punch constantly by the jab.
Double jab there by Toney. And another.
He's trying to work his way inside, but he has not been able, really, to make Qquendo pay for misses. He hasn't really been able to work his way inside. You know, a lot of the tricks that James Toney has used over the years aren't really working as well tonight.
And again, Qquendo a little bit quicker.
You see the online scoring, and they have almost a toss-up. 1 point for Qquendo. I have Qquendo ahead actually by 3 points.
So do I. So do I.
But again, this is a very difficult fight to score, and you know, I would not argue if the judges had it the opposite way.
No, nor would I. And we said that right at the get-go. Toney fights
a shot. Whoa. Hey, you know what? The referee got in the middle there at a critical moment, and I know he's issuing a warning for hitting behind the head, but really that was precipitated by Toney ducking in like that.
Right.
Toney might have been hurt there, and he may have gotten a reprieve.
Don't see really any fatigue setting into either fighter here.
Well, the pace, I wouldn't say the pace is leisurely, but it's not grueling either.
Right, that's right.
See, again, he got beat 2 out of 3 punches there.
Stop. Stop. Stop, Toney.
There's that chopping right hand. That's going to cost him.
There we go.
Yeah. And that could be a very critical point.
Could be gigantic. See, the thing is that the style of Toney almost causes that, you know? It doesn't look like there's intent behind that punch from Qquendo.
So now the rest of this round, even the last 10 seconds, where the round could still be decided, is a big factor in this fight. Now, how do you score that round?
I think Qquendo won the round, so it's 9-9.
9-9.
Round. Okay, you know that, right? Yeah, you are. You're winning every round because his whole game is defense, clutching, and an occasional grab and punch. So now you got to understand that and start fucking putting your willpower on him more. Okay? What round are we in? Number 9. Number 9. Yeah, 9, 10, 11, 12. We got 4 rounds. You do that standing on it.
Pick it up, Dad. Shake and bake and go, go, go. We got 9 points. We got a couple rounds. We got 3
You gotta go hard. Get up.
All right, let's take a look at some of these punches behind the head. You see that one? All right, that was clearly a foul, and he knew what he was doing there. That one, on the other hand, was Toney turning away from the punch and getting hit with it. And here's the one that cost him the point. You know, it's a combination of Toney's style and the way Qquendo throws his right hand over the top.
And that could be a very costly point in a fight like this.
Well, especially if a judge gave the round to Toney to begin with.
Right.
You know, interestingly enough, Joe Goosen in Toney's corner says you've won every round.
Yeah.
I don't know which fight he's watching.
Yeah.
But everybody scores differently. Toney starts out many rounds aggressive, but does not sustain it.
There was a right hand. Overhand right by Qquendo. And he took a look at Lou Moret just to make sure.
Is that one okay?
Yeah. Of course, the fight that Qquendo had with Evander Holyfield, which he lost a decision that most everybody in the house felt he won, he is just hoping that this is not deja vu.
Yeah, well, he has a tendency to be out-hustled because he does go to sleep in his fights, and I thought he got out-hustled by Holyfield, and I wasn't there. I watched it on TV, and I'll be the first one to tell you the fight looks a lot different when you're there.
It does.
You know, and you can get things completely wrong, you know, when you're watching it on TV, just the way you can get them wrong here. Good right hand.
Yeah, it was.
Toney having a better round. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he is. I was going to say he's starting to walk Qquendo down a little bit.
He's putting a little bit more pressure on than he's been putting on. You know, closing the distance a little bit.
Qquendo's been very quiet since that right hand earlier.
Yeah, oh, he felt that one. But, you know, Toney slipped a couple of jabs there, was not able to come up with any kind of a counter punch.
Coming down toward the 10-second mark remaining in round number 9. And a better round for James Toney. Round number 10 in what is a close fight, we believe. Joe Goosen doesn't believe that.
Well, he's paid not to believe that. But you know what? It's a winnable fight for both guys. I have Qquendo up by 2 points with 3 to go.
Yeah, as do I.
And I wouldn't be surprised if at least one of the gentlemen at ringside has very different.
I not only wouldn't be surprised, I absolutely expect it.
See, now here's where Toney actually has an opportunity to take some of the heart out of Qquendo. He really does, just by exerting the pressure here. Still 3 rounds to go. Qquendo knows it's a close fight. They both know it's a close fight. I just wonder if Toney's a little tired at this point.
I was thinking Qquendo's not quite as busy as he was either. Took a counter right hand from Toney.
You know, one thing's obvious. Neither one of these guys, I don't think, is going to knock out the other guy. Neither one of them ever really been big punchers. Toney's a solid puncher. It was a good shot by Qquendo. But, I mean, Toney's real effectiveness is that he's a sneaky puncher, a surprise puncher.
And you can see our audience has this fight virtually even.
Well, there you go. I mean, that says it all right there.
Yeah. I think there could be very diverse scoring in this fight.
And I think you said it best a few minutes ago. I'd be shocked if there wasn't.
Yes.
See, now, to me, Toney has actually let Qquendo take some of the play away again in this round.
That right hand was in the back of the head. Haven't really been any telling blows in this round.
I think Toney had that one counter right about halfway through, but, you know, Qquendo has piled up, you know, quite a few jabs this round. I think I would have to give it to him.
Close round. Again, one of those pivotal rounds in a fight like this. 10 seconds left in the round, and the round may still be there to be had. Round number 11 of a fight that is still right there. Qquendo's corner urging him not to let Toney take this fight from him. They were saying, win one more round, you win the fight.
Yeah, I mean, you know, look, they've seen this guy lose a lot of razor-thin decisions, and he makes it easy for judges not to give him rounds because, you know, he doesn't go the extra mile a lot of times. But I think both corners have a sense that this is a very, very tight fight and that it's going to be decided in these last two rounds.
I think it will. There have been some very pivotal rounds in this fight.
And, you know, we got to go back to that 8th round where Qquendo lost the point.
Exactly.
Hitting behind the head. I mean, that could be a fight decider.
I think the 10th round, the last round, could have made a case either way.
Well, CompuBox tells us that in the last 2 rounds, Qquendo has outlanded Toney 55-30. So, you know, the trend that we thought we were seeing is reflected in the numbers.
There was a good right hand right over the top.
Toney not backing his man up the way he's supposed to, really not applying the pressure, trying to suck Qquendo in, but really, Barry, unable to pull the trigger on those counter punches quite as well as he has in the past.
No, I absolutely agree with you.
See, he's waiting for Qquendo to do something, but he can't pull the trigger.
And again, it was Qquendo who got the only 2 punches in that corner. There's a good right hand.
Right.
And he staggered him. This time he is hurt. And Toney is holding on.
Break clean. Break clean. Let him
And he's got a long way to go. A minute in this 11th round.
Yeah, there was no acting there. He got hurt by that first right hand. There's that punch behind the head again.
He's got to really be careful with that. But he's just kind of posing.
And
he's
here
not
we
doing
go.
anything.
Right, I mean, is this the story of Qquendo's career right here?
Yeah.
I mean, he had a clear advantage and it chooses not to press it.
And now,
good jab.
Yeah, 3 jabs and a right hand. 20 seconds remaining here in the 11th round. Wound up with that right hand again.
10 seconds.
And a good round for Qquendo, maybe the decider.
All right, here's the moment when Qquendo had James Toney hurt. There's no doubt about it. You can see him go against the ropes there. No acting there. He got shook by that right hand. Qquendo chose to pretty much jab his way through the rest of the round. You know what? If he loses a close decision, he's going to think back to this moment.
Absolutely.
When he might have been able to do a lot more damage.
And now Joe Goosen was saying in his corner, you got to go after him in this round. So all of a sudden, it's not you're winning every round.
Now he's seeing a different fight now.
I think he is. And he's seeing a realistic fight.
Yeah.
Final round, they touch gloves. And a big right hand right out of the box by Qquendo. That has been the single weapon for Qquendo. He's shown the jab. It's not a huge jab, but he's got it.
But you know what? It's been enough tonight.
Yeah, it has. That's
really
what I was going to say. He's got it in Toney's face.
No, stop. Very clean.
I'm sorry. I don't think there's any time for fooling around now. This is the last round of the fight.
And Toney goes back into the corner again. This time I think he is playing.
Yeah, he's setting a trap, no doubt. But you know what? 11 and a half rounds now. The traps have been empty. Look at the margin of connects for Qquendo in round 11.
Yeah.
Very indicative of where Toney's energy has gone.
Right hand again, and Toney ducked right into that right hand.
Well, you know, Toney's fighting with no sense of urgency. It's like either he thinks he's way ahead or he's just waiting to hear that final bell.
Yeah, and of course, Joe Goosen told him he wasn't, so I don't think he's under that illusion.
No. Boy, you wonder if James Toney loses this fight, will he reassess what his future is?
Yeah, this is a real crossroads for James Toney. Should he lose? Now, once again,
you're right. You're absolutely right. But I know one card in which he's going to lose.
Well, I know another.
The worthless card that's in front of him.
Exactly. This round has been all Qquendo.
Absolutely, and Toney knows he needs this, so he's showing you what he's got left.
Coming down toward 20 seconds remaining in this fight. And perhaps 20 seconds in the viability of James Toney's aspirations for a heavyweight championship. And Qquendo finishing it with a flourish. That's it, it's over. And the two embrace, and Toney is exhausted. I really believe that. It's in the hands of the judges. We've seen some strange things on these two cards. Qquendo's the winner. We'll find out. We welcome you back. So it is in the hands of the judges, and I know on your card you have the winner
comfortably.
Yeah, Qquendo, as do I. I have
Yep.
115, 112, but you know, you can't emphasize enough. We've seen some strange things happen. So Qquendo will await his fate. James Toney likewise. And the winner will be a viable contender, and the loser will have to go back to, well, here's round one.
And you see that Qquendo shook a little bit in round one, then got stronger as the fight went on, where you would expect Toney to get stronger. Counter punching, I didn't think was really there for Toney tonight. I mean, he had his moments. I thought all the significant moments of the fight came from Qquendo. I mean, he did lose the point in the 8th round. That's something we have to remember. Lost the point in the 8th round for hitting behind the head, and we're going to see it here. It's a good uppercut by Toney there. But, I mean, this is a fight that was pretty much a chess match, and to me, the chess master just did not have his game tonight, and that's James Toney. Here you see round 11, and round 12 turns out to have been Qquendo's best round of the fight by the numbers. Outlanded Toney 32-11.
So let's take a look at the final numbers. The punch stat numbers: 222 punches landed by Qquendo, some 68 more than those of James Toney, and the percentage just about the same. But Qquendo, well, we said he had to outwork Toney, and I think it's fair he did.
It looks like the numbers say he did, and I thought, you know, that they were about equal in terms of hurting one another, which was not very much. So, you know, to me, it's pretty obvious to me. I think Qquendo won the fight.
I do too. It's up to the other three guys with pencils, though, and we'll take a look at our online scoring. They have Qquendo by 2 points, and again, our fans, well, they have their opinions. We have our opinions. Let's find out now from Jimmy Lennon Jr. what the judges think.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 12 rounds of action here at the Morango Casino Resort and Spa, we have a split decision. Here are the score totals. Judge at ringside, David Mendoza scores about 115 to 112 in favor of James Toney. Judge at ringside, Tony Krebs scores about 116 to 111 in favor of Qquendo. Judge at ringside, Marty Denkin sees about 114 to 113 in favor of the winner. He is now the NABO and IBA heavyweight champion, James Lights Out Toney.
Well, every time I think I've seen it all, I hear another decision.
Well, you know, I've seen worse. But my scorecard was the same as Judge Tony Krebs, 116-111 for Qquendo. Tony, you know, has a love affair with the judges and vice versa. He always seems to get these kind of decisions, and vice versa. You know, conversely, Qquendo always seems to come up on the short end of these decisions.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier. He had another fight against Holyfield that everybody in the building was fairly certain that he had won, except for the three guys with the scorecards. And again, you know, we're no more exposed an important voice than the folks at home who voted Qquendo's winning it by 2 points. I had it by 3, you had it by 4, and
I had it by 5.
What do we know, huh?
Well, evidently not very much. Here's